Welcome, joyful creators and Call the Midwife friends. This is Funday Monday, part 8 of the Midwife Born in Love blanket. And today we are going to sew our 3 strips together. And so if you want to go ahead and grab your yarn that you're going to be using to sew with, your darning needle, your scissors, and meet me over in your space, I will go ahead and I will show you how to get these strips sewn together. And then we're going to add this panel to the other first panel that we have already finished. So I will meet you over at the craft table. This section of the tutorial is going to be a tutorial on showing you how to sew the strips together and then how to show the panels to each other as well. Now I know that I have already done a tutorial that has shown you how to sew these strips together, but this particular section of the video will actually be repeated for not only this video, but also again in part 12 and part 16, just to kind of save time. So you will hear what I just said again in each of those videos. But again, this is just to kind of help me save time and be able to make sure that I'm getting the tutorials out to you every week on schedule and on time. So I just ask that you understand that and look over this being repeated in the other 2 videos. All right, so to get started, we need to cut our yarn so that we can sew with it. And so what I usually do is I take the yarn and I measure it down my panel, and then I double it. So after I have taken it down one time, I then take that yarn and I literally just double it. Okay. And then because I always want to make sure that I have enough, then I just grab just a little bit more, not a whole lot. And then that's where I'm going to cut it. And that just guarantees that I have enough yarn for sewing my panel together. And then to make it faster, I'm just going to sit here and cut out 2 more strips by having them lined up beside each other like this. So I don't have to sit there and measure them out. All I got to do is just line them up and cut. And since I need 3 for my strips, and those aren't quite exactly even, but that's okay. As long as I cut somewhere. Okay, so now I have 3 for my strips, but I'm going to end up sewing this panel to the previous panel that we've already done. So I will need 1 more. And again, as you can see, I've just got those pieces just lined up, and I'm just pulling them through my hands until I get to the end, and then just cut it off. And so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. So I'm just going to take 3 of them and pull them off because I only need 1 at a time. And then I'm just going to set the other 3 to the side. And then I no longer need my skein of yarn. And I'm going to remove the dragonfly strip because we can only do 2 strips at a time. And let's get our yarn and find an end. And then I'm going to go ahead and get it on my darning needle. Okay. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that my front sides are facing, and they are. And then slide it down, and then I want to take them and I want to line them up. Okay, just like this. And I am going to bring this camera down just a little bit so it brings it in a little bit closer for you to see exactly up close what I'm doing. And let me make sure that we are zoomed in correctly so it's not blurry. There we go. All right, so we're going to make sure that these are completely lined up like this. And I'm going to grab my needle. To get started, I can see that this is the middle strip right here, the middle stitch of that corner. Okay, I want to start the one right to the right side of it. Okay, so actually here's the middle. I'm going to come to the right side over 2, and that's where I'm going to start. And I want to do the same thing on this side so it's even. And I'm going to go under the front and back loop of both panels. So I should be under 4 loops. And I'm just going to pull that through. And I just want to make sure I have a tail to weave in at the end, okay? All right, now I'm actually going to begin my sewing. All I've done here is try to kind of secure my yarn in by going under all 4 loops. But now I'm going to come up under the front loop of my butterfly panel, and I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to cross over that second and that third loop, which is the second loop of the butterfly panel or back loop, and I'm going to cross over the front or the first loop of the classic, and I'm going to go right into that back loop or second loop of the classic. I'm just going to hold my tail down until I get this completely secured, and once it's secured and grounded, I'll be fine. All right, so now going forward, I'm only going to be working under the, and it's hard to see this white on this gray, but I'm going to do my best. So in the next one and every one after, we're going to go through just the front loop on the butterfly, and then we're going to go through just the back loop on the classic. All right, so that's the stitch we did. So we're going to come up through the front loop of the butterfly, and we're going to come over. And if you're not sure, okay, because if I look here, here's my front and back loops, but I've got this loop right here. You want to make sure that you're going through the back loop, okay? See how it creates these little V's? You want to make sure you're going through this back loop right here. There's the back loop. Here's the front loop, but if you turn it ever so slightly, there's a loop there too that comes across the front. So make sure you're going through the front loop and back loops. All right, so in this next stitch, I'm going to come up through this front loop, and then I'm going to turn this so I see the V and make sure I come through that back loop. And then just pull it through. Okay, and then we're going to do that with the next stitch. We're going to come through the front loop, and then we're going to go straight across and go through the back loop. And we're just going to keep doing that. And I'm going to work this for a little bit with you, and then I'll show you what it's starting to look like afterwards, okay? So now we're going to come through the front loop and go straight across. Same stitch, and if everything is lined up, it should just be real easy. And then just pull that through. And then we move on to the next one, front and back. You can almost just glide that darning needle between those 2 loops and pull your yarn through. When they're lined up, it's just a perfect little swoop, and you got it going. And we're just going to keep doing this until we've got enough done that I can just kind of show you what it's looking like. And I apologize, I think I hit the camera and made it shake. And again, just come up through that front loop and straight across into that back loop. And again, we're just going through the front loop and straight to the back loop. Front loop of the butterfly panel, back loop of the classic panel. I have my two front sides or right sides facing out, and my two back sides or wrong sides facing in. I cannot see them. They're up against each other. And again, I'm just continuing to go down the row here, working under the front and back loops, just until I have enough in that I can really show you how well this looks together. And again, if your panels are lined up evenly, you can just glide that needle right up underneath that front loop and straight across through that back loop. So we're getting down here a good way, so I'm just going to work a couple more of these and then we'll stop and take a look. So you can see what this type of sewing, or this method I guess I should say, how it creates or meshes together to bring these two panels together. And I love it because you don't really have a seam per se, and it goes together. It looks like it's kind of crocheted in a fancy stitch to make it this way. All right, so let's stop and take a look. So this is what we have. And I mean, look how nice that looks. Isn't that pretty? So you're going to keep doing that all the way down. And when you get to the end, again, I like to go a few stitches past that, middle center stitch of the corner, so that when my two sides are together, I'll show you on this end, that they create a straight edge. So when I go to add the border, I can just move right along, that divider, that separation there. Okay, so go ahead and finish up this and then turn around and do the very same thing with the dragonfly strip to the butterfly strip. And when you have that done and you have all three panels together, we'll come back and we will put this group of panels to the first set of panels, or the last set of panels that we did before. So I will meet up with you there. When you've completed sewing your three panels together, you want to take them and we're going to sew them to the rest of the blanket. So you want to make sure all of your panels are right side up or wrong side, however you want to do it. I always do mine right side up. And just like the strips, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make sure that we have them lined up evenly. Okay? And we're going to grab that last piece of yarn that we cut, and we're going to put it on our darning needle. And just like we did with the strips, we're going to do the same thing with the panels. We're going to come find that middle stitch of the corner. We're going to go over 2, and we're going to start under both loops, and we're going to come over here, and we're going to find that same starting point and go under both loops of that panel. Pull through until we have enough of a tail left for weaving. And then we're going to come up under the front loop of the classic, and we're going to go under the back loop of the dragonfly and pull that through, holding that end tail there for weaving in later, just to make sure we get it secured down. And then just like we do with the strips, we're going to come under just the front loop, and then we're going to go straight across and go under the back loop. And now I want to remind you that you need to make sure you turn your work, and you see how it makes these perfect little V's right here. You want to make sure that you're working in the V's and not any loops that might appear on the front or back side. So you're going right up into those V's under the front loop and under the back loop. And just like the strips, if you've got them lined up evenly, then they will just glide right across. My yarn got hooked on something on the craft table. Sorry about that. And we're just going to keep on doing that just like we do with the strips. Except now you're actually assembling the blanket. And all I'm doing right now is just continuing to sew right up under the front and the back loop to bring these panels together. And I don't know how much of this I'll be able to show you until I get it completely finished, but I'm going to try in just a minute after I work a couple of these across. But I will definitely take a picture of it when it's completed so you can see it in its entirety, because it's a little hard on this space here on the craft table underneath the camera, just because it doesn't, you know, allow a very big view. And I'm just going to do a couple more of these and we'll see what we can see. But if not, when I'm finished, I will definitely, like I said, take a picture for you to see. or either spread it out on the day bed behind me and take the camera over there so you can see it in full view. All right. I'm going to do about 2 more, and then we'll stop and see what we can see right now underneath the camera. So there's 1, and then let's just do 1 more. Okay. So again, I think it's going to be a little bit hard to see, but as you can see, this is bringing our blanket together. But yeah. So how nice that looks. All right, so continue sewing your panels together, and when you're done, we will come and take a, like I said, an overall or overhead view of the blanket to date to see what it looks like sewn together. Welcome back. This is absolutely gorgeous. I am so in love with this blanket. So here we have our actually 6 rows, 2 of the classic, 2 of the butterfly, 2 of the dragonfly. This is 1 panel, so we have 2 panels, 6 rows, however you want to look at it, done. But this is beautiful. So we have half of our blanket made, and next week we'll come back and we will start working on the next panel by working a classic. Until then, be joyful, my friends. Stay crafty in your own way. Make your own joyful creations. And I will see you next week. As this comes to a close, I will pop up on the screen a better picture of this so that you can see it even better than what you can here.